The Russian currency is facing unprecedented challenges. The Russian ruble has plummeted to a historic low against the US dollar. It has surpassed 114 rubles per dollar. This is the lowest point since the beginning of the war in Ukraine. This dramatic decline is a clear sign of the deep economic trouble brewing in Russia. The once mighty ruble is now teetering on the brink. The reasons behind this collapse are multifaceted. However, one factor stands out: the impact of US sanctions. These sanctions, particularly those targeting Russia's financial sector, are having a profound effect. They are squeezing the Russian economy from multiple angles. The latest round of sanctions has specifically targeted Gazprom Bank. This is a crucial institution for Russia. It handles international payments for the country's vital energy exports. By crippling Gazprom Bank's ability to operate freely, the US is striking at the heart of Russia's economy. The ruble's free fall is not just a statistic on a screen. It has real-world consequences for ordinary Russians. The declining value of their currency means that imported goods are becoming more expensive. This is fueling inflation and eroding the purchasing power of Russian citizens. America takes a stand against Russian aggression. The United States has imposed a series of sanctions on Russia. These sanctions are a direct response to Russia's invasion of Ukraine. The US views these sanctions as a necessary measure. They aim to punish Russia for its aggression and deter further military action. These sanctions are far-reaching and impactful. They target key sectors of the Russian economy, including finance, energy, and defense. The US has also imposed sanctions on prominent Russian individuals. These individuals are close to Russian President Vladimir Putin. One of the most significant actions taken by the US is the exclusion of certain Russian banks from SWIFT. SWIFT is a global messaging system that connects financial institutions worldwide. This exclusion has made it extremely difficult for Russian banks to conduct international transactions. The sanctions are having a significant impact on the Russian economy. They are contributing to the ruble's decline, fueling inflation, and causing economic uncertainty. The US believes that these costs are necessary to pressure Russia into changing its behavior. Gazprom Bank is one of Russia's largest banks. It plays a critical role in the country's financial system. The bank is closely linked to Gazprom, the state-owned energy giant that is responsible for a significant portion of Russia's natural gas exports. The US has identified Gazprom Bank as a key target in its sanctions regime. The bank has been hit with a range of restrictions. These restrictions are designed to limit its ability to operate internationally and access the US financial system. One of the most significant sanctions imposed on Gazprom Bank is the prohibition on US persons from engaging in transactions with the bank. This has made it extremely difficult for Gazprom Bank to raise capital in US dollars. It has also hampered its ability to finance its operations. The sanctions on Gazprom Bank are having a ripple effect throughout the Russian economy. They are disrupting international payments for Russian energy exports. They are also making it more difficult for Russian businesses to access financing. Section 4. The shrinking coffers. Declining export revenues add to Russia's woes. Russia is a major exporter of oil and gas. These energy exports are a crucial source of revenue for the Russian government. However, the war in Ukraine and the subsequent sanctions have taken a toll on Russia's energy sector. The US and its allies have imposed a price cap on Russian oil. This cap is designed to limit Russia's oil revenues while still allowing oil to flow to global markets. Additionally, some countries have reduced their imports of Russian energy. As a result of these measures, Russia's export revenues have declined significantly. This has put further downward pressure on the ruble and has made it more challenging for the Russian government to finance its war effort. The decline in export revenues is also having a negative impact on the Russian economy more broadly. It is leading to job losses in the energy sector and is contributing to a general slowdown in economic activity. Section 5. The inflationary spiral. The ruble's fall hits Russian consumers hard. The falling ruble has led to a surge in inflation in Russia. As the ruble loses value, imported goods become more expensive. This is because Russian importers need to exchange more rubles to buy the same amount of foreign currency. The rising cost of imports is pushing up prices for a wide range of goods and services in Russia. This is particularly noticeable for essential items such as food, medicine, and clothing. The rising cost of living is putting a strain on Russian households, particularly those on low incomes. The Central Bank of Russia has responded to the rising inflation by raising interest rates. Higher interest rates are intended to cool down the economy and curb inflation. However, they also make it more expensive for businesses to borrow money and can slow down economic growth. Section 6. A victory for America. First, asserting U.S. interests on the global stage. The decline of the Russian ruble and the broader economic challenges facing Russia can be seen as a victory for the America First foreign policy agenda. This agenda, championed by former U.S. President Donald Trump, emphasizes the pursuit of American interests above all else. From an America First perspective, the sanctions imposed on Russia are a demonstration of American strength and resolve. They show that the U.S. is willing to use its economic might to punish countries that act against its interests. The ruble's collapse is seen as evidence that these sanctions are having their intended effect. It is argued that the economic pain inflicted on Russia will ultimately force it to back down from its aggression in Ukraine and comply with U.S. demands. Section 7. The uncertain future. Assessing the long-term impact of sanctions and the ruble's decline. While the decline of the Russian ruble and the economic challenges facing Russia are significant, it is too early to say what the long-term impact of these developments will be. The situation is fluid and complex, and there are a number of factors that could influence the outcome. One key unknown is how long the war in Ukraine will last, and how much further the U.S. and its allies are willing to go in terms of sanctions. If the war drags on and the sanctions are tightened further, the pressure on the Russian economy will only intensify. Another key factor is the response of the Russian government. The Kremlin has so far been able to mitigate some of the impact of the sanctions through various measures such as capital controls and import substitution. It remains to be seen how effective these measures will be in the long run. The decline of the Russian ruble and the broader economic challenges facing Russia are a major test for the country's leadership and its people. The outcome of this test will have significant implications for Russia's future and its place in the world.